Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and everybody in between, welcome to another episode of the Chaps Chat Cats, a part of the Hoops Crew Media Network, joined in the virtual studio by two exceptional gentlemen who are entering their third prelim final as podcasters. We've been doing this for 4 seasons now, chaps. Only one of them have we not tasted the sweet nectar of a prelim. Sambo and Johnny, how are we?
Bloody good. Excited.
Good.
Fantastic.
Good to see you, lads. It's been ages.
Yes.
It's been a long time. It's been a while. On the show tonight, Cats v Lions prelim preview. Going to get into all of that. An absurd effort by Geelong to return to the Final Four and a chance to lock up, chaps, their 7th grand final trip of the 21st century. I was doing the math in my head. Possibly only Collingwood have as many in the 21st century. Maybe Sydney would be around there. Obviously, we've won a few more than Collingwood. But that's what we're going to get into, the prelim final preview. And then for our Patreon subscribers, we're going to duck over and hit up our Patreon match predictions. We'll be predicting who kicks the most goals, who has the most disposals, the biggest impact, most tackles, etc. If you want to get that part of the show, go on over and try a 7-day free trial on the Hoops Crew Patreon page. We've already hit our season goal of 30 paid subscribers by the end of 2024. We've hit it in mid-September. So thanks to everyone who's jumped on board. We'd love to hit 40 then before the season ends. See if you can help us make our dream come true. But chaps, there's one more thing we have to get into before we do our prelim final preview. And that is to say a big Hoops Crew thank you to our media network sponsor, Cyril Cook Florist. They've jumped on board for the W season. They've jumped on board for the men's finals campaign and all through 2025 as well. You can visit their website, www.cyrilcookflorist.com.au. That's Cook with an E. You can give them a bell on your shoe phone on 035 222 2244. And if you would like to avail yourself of a 20% in-store discount, you go on over to their location, Shop 12, 11 Leather Street, Breakwater. Tell them that the Hoops Crew sent you, and you get 20% off your next purchase in store. So go on over. It's not too late to send your Hawthorn friends a commiserations bouquet of brown and gold flowers. So make sure you go on over and do that. But chaps, no more dilly-dallying. We are here to talk the Cats looking for their 3rd grand final in 5 years, many years after we were told it was all over and we would be returning to where we should be, you know, at the bottom of the pecking order. You've been up and about for long enough. Johnny, the Cats, they keep defying gravity, and here they are again. How are you feeling going into this matchup against... A lot.
Stop tempting me to break into song, for God's sake.
If anyone wants to hear Sam's rendition of Defying Gravity from Wicked, head on over to Patreon. Yeah, Johnny, how are you feeling going into
that's
this
the
game?
OnlyFans page.
Pretty fine. Pretty excited to know that, you know, what we predicted at the start of the year came true pretty obviously, that we all agreed that Cats should be making the finals. We've been making the finals. Top 4 is definitely on, and we've done all that and made another prelim. So, as I said to you, I wasn't in one of the recaps. I can't remember which one, but I was like, doesn't really surprise me that we've made it this far. It's what we expect them to do now, is make these big moments, make these big games to give ourselves a shot at making grand finals. And people can go, oh, you know, you've made so many prelims, but you keep falling at the last hurdle. It's like, well, this is why we watch the game. This is why they play the game, is to have that chance at the grand final. And the only way to get there is getting to the prelim. And I'd rather have a team that's giving ourselves this chance and opportunity than falling outside the 8 and struggling mediocrity for year after year. So I'm excited, pretty confident in a way that we can get to another grand final. It's at the MCG, home away from home. So yeah, I think we're in a good position. I feel like the team's in really confident, really up and about. They're pretty comfortable with each other with all the new players coming in. They've all integrated, knowing their role, and really gelled extremely well. Especially Shannon Neal, the way he's come in the last few weeks. I think he's really committed to the team and really cementing his spot as that next big key forward without Hawkins coming in. And I think that's a big tick for him that he was able to keep his spot even though Hawkins was fit to come in. I feel like that's a big tick for Shannon Neal. So yeah, I feel very upbeat, very confident, not nervous yet. I think Saturday afternoon about 4 o'clock or even Saturday morning, I'll be getting very nervous, more excited than nervous about what's going to happen. And I know I'm very up, just confident in what the Cats are capable of. I think we all know what they're capable of, what they can produce when they all play on the same level and work together as a team. It's pretty scary what they can do. So, yeah, and just really more excited about this game than anything else. As they say, the prelims are sometimes the bigger game than the grand final because it's so close, so far. If you get through to the grand final, it's just one more big effort. So yeah, I can't wait. I feel like the team's really well settled with only the one change, and I can't wait to see what this team can bring. Like this is just super exciting for everyone in this game, in this team, to get another chance, another shot. This is just what you play AFL for.
Absolutely couldn't agree any more with that. Obviously, it's a lot of people, having a crack at the Cats, whose teams aren't in a lot of prelims. Funny that. Sambo, your thoughts coming in. I remember, I believe it was post the loss to maybe Carlton or the Swans.
Carlton, if you're going where I think you're going, it was Carlton.
Carlton, I just remember you saying something to the effect of like, our best footy is still like our best footy is good enough, and to question that is absurd. Was the gist of some of what you were saying, and I remember we talked about. I think it was was it Joe Montana? Lee Montana. Joe Montana is NFL quarterback, Jake. He was saying, I remember hearing him on the radio saying, oh, well, obviously, the Cats are one of the most consistent sides, but is their best footy good enough? And I think we all sort of guffawed at it and thought, well, that's ridiculous. In 2024, we would have questioned our consistency more than the level of our best footy. And I think it's proven out, Sambo, that when the Cats play their best footy, they look like a genuine contender. It's the consistency. How are you feeling about the side coming in off that break? I used to dread it as a younger footy fan. I'd be like, oh, we've been sitting cold for a few weeks. Where's your vibe check at it? Because mine's a bit different than it was in the past.
Yeah, my vibe check's pretty good. I think this team is better suited to getting a break. Like I think they're just, because people forget, they still love to call us the old hands, but there's so many new faces bullying in this side now. So it's almost like every day that goes by, they're getting more and more gelled. So I do think the breaks actually help us as a squad. Just more time to train, sort of fine tune everything. And also, I think Chris Scott's a very different coach to a lot of the other coaches. And I think if the more time you give him to avail of himself of the information and start prepping a plan, the more confident I am that he's going to at least have a good red hot go at it. Obviously, anything can happen on the night. Football is football, and there's no bad teams left at this end. At this end of the season. So, anything can happen. But yeah, I'm very similar to John. I think come Saturday, like leading up to it, the last sort of half hour, 20 minutes before the bounce, I'm gonna start getting super nervous. But right now, I go
Nervous
back
Twits.
to go back to the thing you were talking about, Jake, where it was kind of when we were talking about that, and I was saying after the Carlton loss that it's still fully my expectation will go on and I think I do have sound bites. I'm sure we've all got clips and tweets to send if and when this should go away, but don't get what will look like absolute knob ends. So we're not going to start cashing in receipts just yet. But I think the gist was that I felt like we'd go on and win it all, and it may well be delusional. The beauty of being a Cats fan is you're afforded these delusions, and you're not crazy. Like you can expect to make a prelim every year, to make finals every year, to make the grand final, more often than not, almost. Like these, it's it's a delusion that's kind of based in a reality. So I guess and it goes back to again, I don't understand when Cats fans get down because you just kind of go, this is the position that we've been put in. We can just turn up and go, ah, damn, we didn't make the prelim that year. Like that's that's a failure kind of thing. That's a bad year to not have won a final. And so I feel the same about Brisbane. This weekend, this game, every reason to be nervous. Brisbane do what they do, and we'll get into that in more depth. But at the moment, very much living in my delusion of, and then we'll smash them, and then we'll move on and smash whoever comes next.
It is the delusion afforded by being a Cats fan, but geez,
Yeah.
more than often than not,
It's
it's not been a delusion, but a reality. Let's talk some team selection, chaps. I believe that the Lions go in absolutely unchanged, so that's interesting from one end, thinking that, we basically, unless they swing late changes, you're going in looking at exactly the same side that you just got to watch claw their way in pretty impressively, I think, past GWS. Like, regardless of whether you think that the Giants, coughed it up or Brisbane took it from them, whatever the case is, impressive to walk through that door that was offered, I suppose. The Cats, though, have made a change, and it is just that, chaps. It is one change. So this is what it is. It is Zach Tui omitted, and Tom Stewart returning. That's all. So
That's all.
the emergencies are listed as Zach Tui, Sam De Koning, and Ted Closey. But apart from that, this is the same team that went and dismantled Port Adelaide. They tore Port Adelaide apart. There's another song reference for you, Sambo. And we were in excess. So yes, that's an unchanged lineup. Sambo, I'll let you have first crack at this one. Johnny had first crack at the opening question. What are your thoughts on selection? Are you surprised to not see more than one change? Thoughts on the team?
I wouldn't say surprised necessarily. But I guess that's because I would still take it with a grain of salt, as is the modern coaches want, and specifically Chris Scott, to see a sort of late change and Sam De Koning in as the sub or something would not surprise me at all. I think the media have been making, I don't know if you guys have looked at too much of it, but the media have been making a big fuss about this, about you can't not put Sam De Koning in. You can't put Sam De Koning in. Sam De Koning has played so well on Danaher in the past. He has to be in there. Danaher's red hot right now. Blah, blah, blah. Wouldn't be surprised if there's a bit of gamesmanship going on or something. Or but that's not to say I expect De Koning to be in lineup on the field straight away. But I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up as sort of making his way in as the sub. Because he's versatile, depending on if it's an injury based thing, he can ruck, he could probably go up forward, he can obviously go down back, and also Danaher is just on fire and tearing us apart. It's a pretty easy move then to swing De Koning in and say, "Is your man, go to work?" So I think Tui rested and Stewart in is a pretty obvious one, but I wouldn't be surprised surprised if someone like O'Sheen Mullen ends up making way for Koning onto the sub spot.
There'd be some sense, I would imagine, and I'm a big fan of O'Sheen Mullen's tagging work, whether it's Ashcroft or Neil, but in him being the sub, in that if you wanted to roll with it early of like not tagging or not using him as the specific tagger, to have him as there as the break glass in case of emergency, like, oh, someone's got off the leash. We need O'Sheen in to shut down. We want another big fast body. And you actually start with DeConing in there. And then if you feel like, oh, we're too tall, or, you know, I don't know, just in this example, like Stanley is getting run around in the ruck. All right, we'll move DeConing into the ruck and Mullen comes in, a bit like that Port Adelaide game earlier in the season. So basically, my feeling is you back them to have made the right decision, whatever they do. But Johnny, you foreshadowed this in your lead up, but talking about Shannon Neal holding his spot. No Tom Hawkins, no Cam Guthrie. No. Do you like that the Cats went with less change than maybe some fans had hoped for? Or
yeah, I do. It's one of those old sayings: is why change a winning formula when we tore apart Adelaide so easily? And I can absolutely see why the Cats have just gone, let's keep this same team, because we do, you know, yes, Hawkins might be 100% fit and ready to go, but you don't want to start the game with him in there and then he make the same move and injure himself in the first 5 minutes. I'd rather make sure that Hawkins is all fully 100% fit, 110% fit before they bring him back in. Not saying that I wouldn't also want him in the team. Absolutely, if they said he was fine, and beautiful, bring him in. But yeah, I can see why they didn't bring them in. Because Shannon Neal's doing a fantastic job. Mullen's, every midfielder's doing the job exceedingly well. And yeah, I can see why they've kept it pretty much the same. I feel like we've got the defence to hold Danaher, Hipwood, and the likes fairly quiet. And we all know they're not the most accurate team in front of goal. I can't remember the last time they kicked more goals than behinds in a game. They didn't do it against. They haven't done it once in this final series, so that's one thing that I always slightly hold against them is, if you can't kick more goals than behinds, how do you expect to win against a really good positive side like the Cats or like a Sydney if they miraculously beat us in this final? So I feel like the Cats are in a really good position. They're pretty confident. Mullen, I think he's going to go to Lockie Neal or Zorko or Ashcroft just to shut them down, take that influence out, or rotate between them. But also, I feel like this is a really good, solid team. But yeah, I do think Sam could be right as well in saying they could swing that late change. Maybe Duncan comes out and Tom's DeConing comes in. But I could also say just someone, let's just keep this team settled as possible. If they can't do it, that's fine. Learn from it, move on. But I've got full confidence that the Cats know what they're picking, and I'll back them in, week out for this team. And they did it against Port Adelaide, so I can't see why they can't do it against Brisbane Lions.
Yeah. No, I like it. It's so cool from my perspective just to see so many new faces. Like, you rewind back to 2022 and the lineup that was there, and now, who's gone and who has filled those positions. Tanner Bruin, O'Sheen Mullen, Lawson Humphreys, all spring to mind. Jack Bowes, Ollie Dempsey, Shannon Neal, Sean Manor, Ollie Henry. There's been some new faces come in and give new life to this team. And new faces at a variety of positions and age groups as well. Like someone like Sean Manor playing his rookie season in his mid to late 20s it's been a fantastic story. So now I like what they've gone with. Not against them swinging a late change, but as we always say, we'll back them to make the right decision when it comes to it. that moves us to the section of the show where we talk about what we want to see from this matchup. Do you know what I want to see? Is, Johnny, you talked about how the Lions, they're not the most accurate side. They do have a tendency to miss shots. They missed shots against us earlier in the year in that rain-soaked game up in Brisbane. And people said, the Cats are a bit lucky to escape from that one. Brisbane kicked, poorly. I mean, Hawkins and Cameron didn't have a goal between them. So, you're not going to have that many games where things like that happen either. So, you can look at it through both lenses, I suppose. But what I want to see is us not allow Brisbane to have 30 scoring shots. It's all very well for us to say, they kicked, 15 goals, 16, or they kicked, 14 goals, 16, or whatever it might be. It's like, yeah, but I would rather see them not have 30 scoring shots, because one day they're going to kick 20 goals, 10. And then you're in a bit of trouble. So I want to see Geelong do what Geelong have often been able to do in recent history against Brisbane, and that is use one of Sam's favourite words, the off-ball structure. I want to see us limit their opportunities. I don't want this to be a free-flowing game for the Lions where they're manufacturing a lot of chances but missing them, because as the Giants found out, they might miss a bunch, and then eventually they'll start to hit. We saw that in the Port Adelaide game, Johnny, where we said, we're missing early, but we're creating chances. Eventually it'll turn. Don't give them the opportunity for it to turn. Take our chances early, limit the opportunities they have, and just put the foot on the throat as soon as possible. Because as you said, one of you said, I can't remember if it's Johnny or Sambo, there's 4 good teams left. The end of the day, we're down to the 4 best teams left, and anyone can beat anyone. So let's just make sure we limit the opportunities we give them to execute their skills inside forward 50. Who wants to go next? What do you want to see?
What do I want to see? I want to see
you
pretty much what we saw against Port Adelaide. Just that good structure. Great structure, great pressure, free flowing footy. Have the confidence, have the confidence and the belief in your own ability that handball is going to go to the player, and they're waiting for it. They're expecting a handball, a quick handball, a slick handball, a quick one, and then a kick going inside 50. I just want to see us with that confidence again, oozing the confidence of, I've got this ball. There's going to be a player to my right or a player to my left. If I handball it out that way, it's going to one of our players. I feel like the Port Adelaide game was one of the first times in a little while that I've seen the Cats play with just absolute confidence in themselves and the teammates, that they were there for each other. They're there to win the game. They know what they're doing. They know what they need to do. And I feel like that can be carried through this game, that they know what each other's going to be doing at every possible moment. They're well drilled. They've worked really well together throughout the year, and it's really starting to click now. So I'd just like to see that continue. Just that belief, the confidence, and the ability to be able to read where each other is at all times. And if we do that, it's going to be hard to stop.
I like it, Johnny. I like it a lot. Plays into what we talked about. If Geelong plays their best team, their best footy, rather. I mean, you've got to play your best team to play your best footy, but they are going to be hard for anyone to stop. Sambo, what do you want to see?
I would like to see, particularly around the second stoppage, I want to just see some absolutely brutal pressure. I think Brisbane, people love to talk up the toughness of their midfield and that, and I think they are tough players, but I also think they're players that are likely to have a sook if the day isn't going their way, and can get in their heads a little bit. Maybe that's what I was
I've got to mute myself.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm looking specifically at Dangerfield and Stewart, especially when Stewart rolls up. We may not win every hit out, but I want to make sure that every centre bounce that we don't win is just. I want them too timid to go for the ball. They're worried about who's going to absolutely smash them in a perfectly legal and within the confines of the fishing kind of way. But I think that's something else we have done well in patches this year, and we definitely did well against Port Adelaide. And I think it's going to be important for us to build off the back of to go forward and do all the offensive stuff. I think we've got to make sure that they're bruised and battered early and looking over their shoulders.
It's that line between, the legalized violence of hard-hitting sport where it's fair and you're going at the ball, and then the sort of off-the-ball bullshit that teams who think they're tough try and do.
Yeah.
I think, that grand final against Sydney was a terrific example. The next best game Geelong have played for mine since that time was the qualifying final against Port, and there were so many similarities where Geelong were just like freight trains at the ball at all times. And that was the thing. It was at the ball. It wasn't at the man. It wasn't cheap. So I'm 100% with you there. Set the tone early. Just attack the footy with ferocity. And I agree. I think, let's face it, that's where it's at. If most teams apply that, the team that goes harder at the footy will often come out with a win. I know that's a simplistic way of viewing it, but I think it holds up in a lot of contact sports. Those who can find that line and go hard within the limits of the game generally come out on top. So I love that one, Sambo. That is all from us on the public part of the show. We're going to duck over now and make our Patreon match predictions over on, you guessed it, Patreon. So go and start your 7-day free trial. 7 days. It's no risk. Just sign up for 7 days. See what it's like. You
Grand
might
final
like
week.
some of the extended and extra stuff there. Exactly. Do us and yourself the favor. Sign up for a 7-day free trial over on Patreon. Try it out. We're going to go there now, make our match predictions. But thanks so much for watching. Thanks so much for listening. Thanks so much for being a Cats fan. Or if you're a Lions fan ducking in, good on you for keeping an open mind and having a listen to the opposition point of view. It's something that I basically never do. Until next time, go Cats!
Go Cats!
Go Cats!